What's going on, guys? This is Iram Saenz. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be reacting to a good friend of mine, also a good buyer. His name is Ryan Pineda. He's going to be discussing how to wholesale for beginners, and I'm just going to give my input and reaction to what he has to say. And if this type of video is something that you want to see more of, feel free to comment below, let me know, hit the like button, and also be sure to subscribe. So thank you guys so much. Now let's get into it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where we talk all things money, real estate, and entrepreneurship. And for today's episode, we are going to talk about what exactly is wholesaling and how do you do it step by step. So let's take a step back and look at what exactly is wholesaling. Wholesaling is essentially getting a property under contract. Key is under contract, you have not bought it, and then selling the contract to somebody else who will actually buy it. So for instance, a seller might say, I'm willing to take $70,000 from my property. You as the wholesaler will put the property under contract for you to buy it for $70,000. What will happen next is you will then assign your rights to the contract.
So real quick, Ryan explained it very well. This is something that doesn't require any credit, any history, and no license needed whatsoever. All you're doing in wholesaling is selling the rights to a contract to an actual end buyer, somebody who's actually gonna go and fix and flip the property. All right, so back to the video now.
Maybe my friend flips houses and he's willing to pay $80,000 for it. So I will make the spread between what he's willing to pay and what I have it under contract for. This spread is called my assignment fee or my wholesale fee. And in this case, it would be $10,000. From there, that person would fund $80,000, $70,000 would go to the seller, $10,000 would go to me, the property would go to them. Everyone wins, everyone's happy. I've done hundreds of deals doing this same exact thing. And I've done deals.
So real quick, if you're wondering how exactly all this happens, that is the title and escrow company. They make sure to deal with the seller as far as clearing title. And then once the buyer comes into the picture, they make sure to deal with the lender and getting in the loan docs, the wire, etc. So if you don't know too much about what title and escrow companies are, make sure to watch my previous video that does discuss on what those are exactly and where to go and find these.
Is the residential purchase agreement, and the second one is the assignment agreement. So what you're gonna do is take the residential purchase agreement. Ours is only 3 pages, it's super self-explanatory. You guys can use it. The next thing you're gonna do is find a good deal somewhere. I'm gonna talk later in the video about how to find good deals, but stay with me. I just wanna talk about the actual process of how it plays out first. So you're gonna find a seller who's willing to sell at a discount. Now, how big of a discount is gonna depend on your market.
Typically, sellers are found off market, so the best way to get a wholesale deal is by reaching out to these sellers directly. Now, you can go on the MLS and find these for sale by owner properties or discounted or investment properties. And that has worked for many people, but the best way to get a wholesale deal where you're gonna maximize on the biggest profit is by finding them off market.
Basic formula that you'll see online that many people use is 70% of ARV minus repairs. So what is ARV? ARV is after repair value. That is the price it's gonna sell for once it's fixed up and in great condition. Then you're gonna take 70% of that number and minus the repairs. So for instance, let's say the ARV is $100,000. 70% of that would be $70,000. And let's say the property needed $20,000 in repairs. So you would take the $70,000 minus the $20,000, and that gives you $50,000. That is the max offer someone is willing to pay for it. Now, if that's what somebody is willing to pay for it, you gotta get paid somehow.
As far as the sell price, that's gonna vary on a lot of different scenarios. So 1, what area it is. Number 2, the size of the property. And number 3, how active the market is actually at that time. The actual size of the property is gonna determine your repair cost. So if a property is 2,000 square feet compared to 1,000 square feet, it's gonna make a big difference on the repair cost. And it could be either way higher or way lower. So this formula is a good strategy just if you're starting off and don't understand how to actually break down those costs. But I actually did make a video on how to determine your MAO. So please make sure to go watch that, understand fully how to break down the numbers, and make sure that you're going to be able to give the best offer possible so all parties are going to win.
So you actually need to get it cheaper than that. So if I know somebody's willing to pay $50,000 max, I then know that anything I can get below that is gonna be my profit. So maybe the seller's willing to sell me this house for $30,000. What I would do next is get the seller under contract with the residential purchase agreement for $30,000. Now, I have my residential purchase agreement. Next thing I'm gonna go do is open escrow with the title company. This would be a local company, and I am going to give them the residential purchase agreement. I'm gonna give them the earnest money deposit we agreed upon. That is in the contract. It can be as little as $10, $100, $500, $1,000. It's whatever you agree to with the seller. But make sure that you can cover that amount of money, because you have to put that money with the title company in order for the contract to be valid. So you open escrow, you deposit your earnest money deposit. Now you gotta go find a buyer. I'm gonna talk later in this video about how to find a buyer, but let's say you already found one, he's willing to pay 50 grand. You're then gonna send him the assignment agreement, and the assignment agreement is gonna be for $20,000. Because remember, you had it under contract for $30,000, they're willing to pay 50, your profit is 20. You send them the assignment agreement, and then you send that assignment agreement to the title company. The title company is then gonna run all their searches. They're gonna make sure the seller's legit, make sure that all the liens and all the different fees are paid, and then they're gonna get all their closing documents prepared. Once they get their closing documents prepared, the seller signs their piece, the buyer signs their piece, the buyer then sends in the $50,000 plus any other fees, and then the title company works their magic.
So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the title company is the one that handles everything. All you have to do is make sure that they have all the information they need as far as from the seller, the buyer, they have your EMD, and after that, they just take care of everything else. They're the ones that are gonna be in contact with the seller. If they have some sort of mortgage, they're gonna reach out to that bank to make sure that they get whatever payoff is left on the property. They're gonna be in contact with the buyer and the lender to make sure that they get all the loan docs in, as well as the wire on their end. And they basically put it all together. All you do at the end is confirm the settlement statement or HUD to make sure that all the numbers make sense. You give the green light, the buyer gives the green light, and you guys close on the property.
They send the $30,000 to the seller is satisfied and happy. They send the $20,000 to you as the wholesaler, you are satisfied and happy. And from there, your work is done. You get paid and it's on to the next deal. Okay, so now that you understand the basics, I wanna give you my top 5 things that are gonna determine whether you're successful or not. All right, so the top 5 things that are gonna determine whether you're successful or not are your market, leads, sales skills, deal evaluation, and finding buyers. Those 5 things are the key to succeeding in wholesaling. So let's talk about market. You first have to choose a market, and I'm always a big fan of choosing your local market. A lot of people want to go virtual, and that's fine, but it is harder virtual. Ideally, your market would be at least 500,000 people. It gives you more opportunities to get deals. If you're in a small town, it's a lot harder to get deals because there's not as many houses for sale. So ideally, pick a market with at least 500,000 people. If there's not a big market like that around,
Although it is ideal to, pick a market that has over 500,000, we have done deals, and I'm not saying to go out and look in these markets, but we have done deals in, towns that have less than 20,000 population. I would recommend at least staying in the 6 figures as far as population. So if you can be over 100,000, then that would be typically ideal, because there's some pretty major cities that don't, that are between 100 to 300,000. And there's buyers in these towns. As long as you see that there's a lot of activity in the past 3 to 6 months and people are buying and selling, then most likely you're going to be able to get the deal done as long as the numbers make sense.
So picking the right market is key. The second thing are leads. How are you going to generate the leads to go find these good deals? There's a lot of different ways that you can market.
That reminds me, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. And also, quick note, if you are just starting out into wholesaling, then I would recommend driving for dollars is going to be the best strategy for you if you are looking to put little to no money. The only money that driving for dollars requires is for maybe skip tracing, and if you're going to use a dialer for that as well. I know tons of people that have drove for dollars with little to no money and have made over $25,000 per deal. So if you are just starting out, that's definitely my best recommendation for that. And second would be like cold calling, pulling a list and cold calling. Those two are the best.
Either way, you have got to generate leads somehow in order to talk to these sellers and try and get a good deal. If you have no leads coming in, there's no way you're going to get a good deal. The third thing is sales skills. Now, if you start generating leads in a good market, the next thing is, how good are you at negotiating with the seller? I see a lot of people who say, oh, I'm paying all this money for all these leads and I can't get any deals. And then I usually think in my head, well, you probably suck at selling. And look, not everyone is a great salesman. I get it. Some people are introverted, some people are awkward. Remember when we talked about taking 70% of ARV minus repairs? Well, all of those things need to be calculated correctly. Starting with your ARV, you gotta know what is the property gonna be worth once you fix it up. It's gonna take time to learn.
So real quick, he mentioned ARV is the number 1 thing that you have to learn and understand how to obtain that number. In my opinion, it's the most important part of the formula to getting your MAO, which is your max available offer, because it is basically like the root, is the foundation of your formula. So for example, if you have a property and you think it's worth 200,000, but it's worth 250,000, just from not understanding all the numbers correctly, not understanding what to look at, that can make a very big difference and can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars if you don't understand how to do it properly. So I'd recommend that you go watch my ARV video. I've gotten a ton of feedback on that, and every time I get sent a property from one of my viewers, they are pretty spot on the ARV. So make sure to watch that video. It's a ton of value. All right, let's get back.
My course, my coaching, I'd have to make another YouTube video to go over how I personally comp. Just know ARV has to be right. The next thing is that 70%. There are many markets where you cannot get 70% of ARV. It's just not gonna work. The market's too competitive, the houses are too expensive. Think about it, if you're trying to go get $1 million home and you're taking 70% of that, you're talking 700,000. Many sellers aren't gonna do that. So you have to know which market you're in and what is the going rate. In Vegas,
as I mentioned, there's a lot of variables on breaking down your numbers and getting down to what you're going to offer for the property. Where you're marketing is going to be a very important factor, because as he explained it pretty well, you can't go and offer 500,000 for $1 million home. These people are more sophisticated. They obviously know what's going down, how the business works. So it's best to master your market, or a market where you can get help in, and just go based off that, start learning. It takes experience, it takes years of knowing. It takes years in this business to start understanding how markets work and what you can go and offer for these.
I've seen guys pay up to 85–90% of ARV minus repairs. So it's definitely not always 70%. The third thing is repair cost. You have to learn, how do I calculate repairs? And that also varies market to market. In my book, I talk about the price per square foot method, which we use. But anyways, if you read my book, you'll learn how we calculate repair cost, and it is very similar in most markets. You may need to adjust the price per square foot to your market. So it will take time to learn ARVs, to learn what percentage of a discount the investors want, and then to learn repair cost. And the better you get at evaluating the deals, the more deals you're gonna get. The last thing is finding buyers. How good you are at finding buyers is gonna determine how good you are at selling deals. If you have a bigger buyers list of people who are willing to pay more for a property, that will help you sell more properties and sell them for a higher profit. Think about it, if you have a very big buyers list, the majority of the buyers may be at $100,000 on a home. But you may have that one buyer who's willing to pay $110,000. Well, having that one buyer made you an extra $10,000 in your wholesale fee. So building up your buyers list is a big deal. But I would caution that many people try and focus on building up their buyers list first, when they need to focus on finding deals first. The deals are harder to find than the buyers. If you got a deal, somebody's gonna buy it. It's not hard to find them. A typical place.
It's actually a great point, because I get a lot of messages of people asking, should I build my buyers list before entering a market? And the answer to that is no. I've always tell them no. Just start working on the deal. Once you get a deal, if the numbers make sense and you're running all your information right, then there's always gonna be a buyer. There is always gonna be a buyer, no matter if it's a rehab, a rental. There's buyers everywhere, as long as the market makes sense and the numbers make sense.
Place you can find buyers is on Craigslist. You can find them on Facebook groups. All you would do is search wholesaling real estate. You could find them at your local meetups. So go to meetup.com and look for real estate meetups. There's a lot of different ways to find buyers. If you want to get complex, you can actually go to the title company and ask for a list of all the LLCs who have bought more than one property this year. If they've bought more than one property, that means that they are a good buyer and they may be somebody you want to sell to. So those are the 5 keys that I think are the most important to wholesaling successfully. Obviously, I cannot cover all of those things in depth this video, as I've mentioned, and I plan to cover each of those subjects individually in future videos.
All right, guys, so that was Ryan Pineda explaining, how to wholesale for beginners. He explained it perfectly. You know, one thing I'd add as far as finding buyers is just searching up local LLCs. A good way to do this is either reaching out to realtors, or if you have MLS access yourself, just see if there's an LLC buying. You know, find them on eCorps or Open Corporate's website. Either skip trace them or the registered agent to that, and just ask them, be like, hey, are you looking to buy in this specific area? Most of the time they're going to be interested. They're never going to shoot you away because they're always looking to buy deals, and you're just another wholesaler that's bringing one to them. So again, this is Ryan Pineda. I'm going to put his link in the description below. He's actually going to be attending our Freedom event as a speaker. So if you have not entered my giveaway, you guys need to make sure you guys enter that ASAP. The speakers include Ryan Pineda, Cody Sperber, Max Maxwell, Sean Terry, Keith Everett from Alabama, Pat Hilton, and many more. The prices for this event is honestly a steal compared to the amount of value you're going to receive. So I will also put a link in the description below on that giveaway video, and you guys really need to make sure you guys go check that out, because I'm going to be giving away 5 tickets to Freedom, and the chances of you winning are pretty high. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to comment below. I'll see you guys on the next one.